Ghost towns are always haunted, or at least that is the myth. The popular belief says that every abandoned mining camp, empty Wild West street, or deserted village is crawling with restless spirits, tragic echoes, and cursed energies that never left. In movies and urban legends, ghost towns are the perfect backdrop for jump scares and supernatural horror. But when real science and hidden history step in, the story becomes far stranger and way more human than a simple haunted legend. Myth-busting these places means asking a simple question. Are ghost towns truly haunted, or are we just haunted by our own fears and misunderstandings of the past? To understand the myth, you have to understand the setting. Picture a broken main street, store signs fading, windows shattered, a single door creaking in the wind. People see that and instantly imagine disaster, massacres, plagues, ritual curses, violent deaths. The emptiness feels like it must have a dramatic, almost supernatural cause. That feeling is powerful because humans hate a vacuum when we see silence. We fill it with stories. That is how many urban legends and misunderstood history events are born. We take a few facts, add fear, and let imagination do the rest. Why do people believe these places are haunted? For one, they are visually perfect horror sets. Long shadows, strange echoes, and no modern noise to drown out your own heartbeat. In that silence, the smallest sound, a loose window rattling, a distant animal call, a gust of wind turns into evidence for ghosts. On top of that, ghost towns are often linked to real tragedies. Mining accidents, economic collapse, epidemics. The knowledge that people suffered and died there makes it easy to imagine they never moved on. Seeing a collapsing mine shaft or an old hospital bed frames the whole place as a frozen moment of pain. And the mind translates that into haunted. Here is where it gets interesting. The experiences people report in ghost towns are often very real, not necessarily supernatural. Visitors talk about hearing phantom footsteps, feeling watched, seeing figures in windows, or catching voices on recordings. Paranormal investigation shows film in infrared, plays strange audio, and presents shock reactions as science facts. To a casual viewer, it looks like hard proof. Yet, when these investigations are examined with real science and careful controls, the picture changes dramatically. Many EVPs or mysterious sounds turn out to be wind, distant traffic, radio interference, or even the investigators' own movements. Optical illusions in low light can turn a curtain, a shadow, or a broken door frame into a ghostly silhouette that vanishes the moment you shine a proper light. But this is the part most people never hear. The human brain is a pattern-detecting machine, tuned to see faces and forms even where they do not exist, a phenomenon called pareidolia. In a ghost town, every cracked wall and half-open door becomes a potential face, a watcher in the dark. At expectation, this place is haunted, and the brain starts to select only the details that support the myth. This is a classic case of confirmation bias, a hidden cognitive engine behind many urban legends and misunderstood science stories. You expect ghosts. You will find evidence of ghosts even if nothing unusual is happening. The feeling is real, but the interpretation is not. Real scientists and historians approach ghost towns very differently. Instead of starting with what spirits live here, they ask what actually happened here and why did people leave. Archaeologists, geologists, and social historians dig into records, soil, and artifacts, not shadows. They find clues in tax documents, mining reports, shipping logs, letters, photographs, and even pollen samples in the ground. These sources often reveal very down-to-earth reasons for abandonment. The mine ran dry. A new railway route bypassed the town. A dam project forced relocation. A disease outbreak made staying impossible, or a war shifted borders. In other words, ghost towns are more about economics, politics, and environment than cursed ground and eternal spirits. Here is the twist almost everyone gets wrong. Many so-called ghost towns were never single. Tragic overnight disappearances. They usually faded slowly. Families left over years, not seconds. Businesses closed one by one. Children grew up and moved to bigger cities. The romantic image of a town where everyone mysteriously vanished in one terrifying night is usually just the tan image, not a fact. Misunderstood history takes slow decline and repackages it as instant horror because the second version sells better tickets, better tours, and better stories. Hidden history often shows that what looks like a sudden death was actually a long, visible process that locals fully understood. At the midpoint of this story, another surprising truth surfaces. Some ghost towns feel haunted, not because of who might still be there, but because of who comes back. Tourists, filmmakers, urban explorers, paranormal investigators, and even influencers bring their own expectations, fears, and cameras. They arrive already primed by movies, horror games, and viral clips. When they walk down a cracked street, they are not blank observers. They are participants in a modern ritual. Every creak is recorded. Every strange reflection becomes a thumbnail. The town becomes a stage where the myth and the audience feed each other. In a way, it is the living who haunt these places with stories, not the dead. Now, this is where researchers were stunned. When psychologists and environmental scientists measured how people felt in abandoned places, they found that architecture, light levels, and sound patterns strongly influenced reports of ghostly activity. Narrow hallways, low ceilings, and irregular echoes made visitors anxious and more likely to say they felt a presence. Low-frequency sounds from wind and broken pipes or distant machinery, if too low to consciously notice, correlated with feelings of dread and being watched. Changes in temperature from drafts and shade shifts were often interpreted as a cold spot, a classic sign of a haunting in popular culture. Real science shows that a lot of ghostly sensations are the body's normal responses to unusual environments, explained simply by physics and biology. At the same time, ghost towns do preserve something genuinely eerie: memory. Old photos and diaries recovered from these places reveal daily lives that stopped mid-sentence. Grocery lists are still on the wall. Children's toys lie in dust. Handwritten letters talk about hopes for next year, in a town that would be empty long before that. This frozen normality creates a sense of emotional haunting. It feels wrong that the story ended, that these plans never played out. The ghosts here are the lives that could have been. When people say they feel a presence, sometimes they are feeling the weight of history, not a literal spirit. This is the kind of hidden history most educational videos and documentary voiceovers rarely emphasize. Yet it is one of the most powerful, surprising truths about abandoned places. There is another layer too: profit. Turning ordinary abandoned towns into legendary haunted sites is good business. Tours, merch, TV specials, and social media channels all gain more attention by framing these locations as cursed rather than simply bankrupt or inconveniently located. Debunking myths cuts into that drama, so the myth is carefully protected and polished, often with invented details. A single tragic death becomes dozens of souls trapped forever. Local superstition becomes an official curse. Over time, repeated storytelling replaces the original reality. Misunderstood history hardens into accepted fact, and challenging it feels almost like breaking a spell. Yet even after all the debunking, something important remains. Ghost towns are powerful teachers. They are open-air museums of choices, consequences, and changing environments. Real science can track how resource extraction, climate, technology, and politics shape where people live and where they leave. Explained simply, ghost towns are like paused documentaries, freeze frames of a society at the moment it stopped working. Walking through one with a historian instead of a ghost hunter reveals lessons about boom-man-bust cycles, migration, inequality, and resilience. The true story is not about whispers in the dark, but about how fragile human settlements can be when they rely on a single mine, a single factory, or a single route. So, are ghost towns truly haunted, or just myths dressed up as reality? When the cold air, strange acoustics, and eerie silence are stripped away and debunking myths is done properly, there is no solid scientific evidence that these places are any more supernatural than any other patch of land. What they do contain in abundance are echoes of human decisions, forgotten names, and abandoned dreams. The real haunting is psychological and historical, not paranormal. Ghost towns are not proof of spirits that never left. They are mirrors reflecting the stories we tell about the past and the fears we project onto the future. In the end, the most surprising truth is that the scariest thing in a ghost town is not a ghost at all. It is the reminder that one day, our thriving cities could be someone else's haunted ruins. What myth should I break down next?